full-time police officer for the city of Belle Plaine. I worked there for 7 months. During that time, I was in the hiring process for the Iowa State Patrol. In November of 2005, I began a career with the Iowa State Patrol, and I've been a state trooper now for 16 years. I live in Grundy Center with my wife and my daughter. My daughter is just wrapping up with 5th grade. She's down to one more week, actually, a week and a half, and she's excited for summer. But my wife, she's also in law enforcement. She's a sergeant for the Blackhawk County Sheriff's Department. She works in the jail. She works 3rd shift. But yeah, we call Grundy Center home, and that's where we're planning to stay. I have been a conservative my whole entire adult life. Ever since I was 18 and started to vote, I was always there on election day. The reason why I'm running for the Iowa House of Representatives is I believe that the Republican Party of Iowa is a winning team. Here recently, they passed the 3.9% flat tax, which allows everybody to keep extra money in their pockets. In addition to the 3.9% flat tax, they also eliminated income tax for retirees, which makes in retirement makes your money go that much further. They've also passed the Back the Blue bill, which as a state trooper and in law enforcement, that's a nice thing. And then also with the women's sports, the Republican Party has passed so that in order to play women's sports, you have to show or present a female birth certificate. So with the winning streak that the Republican Party has going, I want to be a part of that winning team. And the reason why I want to be a part of that winning team is I truly believe in Iowa. I believe that Iowa is a great state to live, work, live in, and I want to see Iowa succeed for the future to come. So, thank you.
Thank you. These events are never so easy for me. I get over passionate at times. I'm going to scoot this back so I can see over here as well. So my name is Robert Nazario, and I've been in Iowa for 28 years. I first settled in Conrad. For 8 years, I moved to Wellsburg. I lived there for 12, and now I've resided in the country out here by Eagle City for a little over, in August, it'll be 8 years. I could have lived anywhere in America. I chose. I'm a merchant mariner by trade. I retired last December. The company paid all travel costs, but I chose Iowa. My wife's roots are from Beeman, Kellogg, and Grinnell. I think Iowa has more going for itself than many other areas. I'm running primarily because of the abuses that we have seen in America these last couple of years. The medical abuse, the closing of stores, the closing of churches, and I don't think we got enough protection right from the get-go. And we still don't have that protection. The House this year had the Medical Privacy and Freedom Act. It did not go anywhere. Why? We have a trifecta of government. We have Republicans everywhere, and yet we couldn't pass something substantial. And what does that mean to us, right? I retired at 57 on December 1st, 7 days before those mandates were imposed on us. I didn't want the mandates. If our forefathers, that greatest generation, fought long and hard to deliver us a true freedom, and for the CDC, the NIH, the FDA, and all these bureaucrats elsewhere, demanding that from not only us, but from our kids, from our grandkids, our 6 months old. They're not done pushing these vaccines on us. Another thing, and I'm gonna be fast, I got the timer going over here. School choice, it needs to happen. We cannot let twisted ideology, CRT, and other crazy agendas degrade our kids. We must protect our kids. Pro-life, that's coming back. I was not for this forum the way it was done with 4 categories. Our problems are far more than those 4 categories had. I did it because I'm the one that asked for this conference or this town hall. And I do not agree that we should be bound by 4 different categories. The pro-life issue is coming back to Iowa. We must stand for life. The property rights against imminent, we have to fight for property rights and against eminent domain. These farmers have their legacies, they can't afford to lose that. Private institutions and follow the money on these carbon pipelines, they're no good. Second Amendment rights, the left always wants to take that away from us. We need strong castle laws here in Iowa and a true stand your ground so we can protect life and property, because the radical left will destroy buildings. They've been here to Des Moines, they're not done, and we need to protect our entire freedoms. With the Freedom Amendment coming up in November, please ensure that passes. We need a smaller federal government. We have to talk more about the 10th Amendment. We have to stop illegal immigration. We have to secure our borders and protect our society from the drugs that are flowing in here. We have to be pro-law enforcement. Thank you for serving, sir. We have to protect small businesses in agriculture and family farms. There's too much big money in these big sources, and we need to protect what counts here: our ground, our cattle, our hogs. Fiscal responsibility on all levels. Increase mental health. Decrease property taxes, eliminate the inheritance taxes. There's no reason why these big farms have to sell in order to give the government more money. We have to eliminate the lukewarm and liberal-minded Republicans that exist even in the winning team that you speak of. We have to stop child trafficking and human trafficking, and we have to prosecute all politicians that are compromised. Okay, so I am a fighter. 36 years in the Merchant Marine. I retired, and I retired just in time, and I want to represent the people of this good district. Okay, I am fiery, I am passionate, and I will not bend.
Thank you. There are 2 hazardous liquid pipelines proposed in Hardin County. Both are privately owned and have some foreign investors. Currently, the Iowa Utilities Board oversees the permitting process. The Iowa legislature makes the rules for them to follow. One of these pipelines has filed for a permit with the Iowa Utilities Board. Our county supervisors are first in the state to give our county attorney permission to intervene in the process. They also joined 22 other counties of the 30 affected by this pipeline in asking the Iowa Utilities Board not to grant eminent domain to this company. Your question: do you support the supervisor's decision to intervene and deny the use of eminent domain? Who goes?
He goes first.
Okay.
All right, can you repeat the question?
The question is, do you support the Hardin County Supervisor's decision to intervene and denying the use of eminent domain to build these private pipelines?
The answer is yes to supporting the Hardin County supervisors. When it comes to eminent domain and property rights, I am not in favor of eminent domain and compromising property rights of the farmers and of the owners. When it comes to this question, yes, it's very very heated topic, but when it comes down to it, no, I do not support eminent domain.
Good. Thank you.
All right, I said enough about eminent domain when I started, but eminent domain has its place. We don't wanna pay $5 gas pipeline, I'm for it. For threatening eminent domain to gain access for a carbon pipeline. First of all, I don't believe in a carbon pipeline. So, but if you follow the money on that pipeline issue, follow the money, go to the website, and there's a conflict of interest wholeheartedly in that entire deal. I was proud of our supervisors, and I was proud to read that Daryl Meyer wrote that. And yes, I will 100% stand behind folks like Catherine, Raymond, and I said that earlier, I was the caucus chair. I met Catherine and Raymond, and they explained to me what eminent domain was. I worked for Big Oil. I know Big Oil has their predicaments trying to get pathways from Canada down and the Dakotas down to Houston, and they pay big dollars, but I don't believe they ever use the threat of eminent domain. So yeah, I stand with landowners. Our legacy is our kids and our farms.
Thank you. Are there changes the legislature should make to the IUB in the permitting process of a hazardous liquid pipeline? Are you going first this
Yes,
time?
yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, one more time.
Are there changes that you think the legislature should make to the Iowa Utilities Board in dealing with this hazardous liquid pipeline?
I don't want it. I don't think Iowans want it. We've seen the catastrophe that a leak will cause. Carbon, CO2 is heavier than air. If it breaks out from a flange, I work pipelines, excuse me. There's plenty of pipelines on a tanker, and I work those tankers. I know leaks happen, and unfortunately, it caused catastrophic EPA disasters on a ship. We try always to prevent the oil from going in the water. This will kill livestock. If there's no wind, if the CO2, high pressure CO2 is released, it will kill anything in its path. So
you don't see any changes that you would recommend for the
No.
budget? Okay, all right.
Not at all.
Yep, thank you.
As for changes, currently I don't see that there is a need for any current changes. With eminent domain and the IUB. So
All right, nope, that's fine. All right, next question. Do you support ethanol and do you support E15?
Yes, I support ethanol and I support the use of E15. And the reason behind that is I believe in Iowa agriculture, and I want to stand behind Iowa's farmers when it comes to the production of ethanol. That is how farmers get paid, by their corn. The use of E15 with the higher production of ethanol, which means that more of our corn will be used for renewable energies. And I understand that there are a lot of jobs that rely on the production of corn in order to make ethanol. So as a state representative, I stand behind everybody who works in the industry that requires the production of our corn, and I stand behind our Iowa farmers.
Thank you.
I also do too. As an employee of ConocoPhillips and Arco, we carry we carried chemicals, MTBE in particular, that made a good higher octane fuel. MTBE was not environmentally friendly at all. It would seep through the groundwater, it would contaminate, it would seep through the soil and contaminate the groundwater. E15 keeps our farmers basically fed. It's a good resource. My problem is when we force these stations to carry and sell a product. That part of it should not be mandatory. As I know the governor signed a bill recently, but yes, the ethanol increases the octane, and helps our farmers, and is an avenue for our corn to get to market. How can I not support it? The refineries that are here producing ethanol, as Josh says, it keeps people employed, and we need that industry to carry on.
Thank you. I got one more on agriculture. The state of Iowa has an enormous amount of livestock compared to other states. I believe we're number one in hog production, we're number one in egg production, and we're about number 10 in cattle production. We're very, very high, and I know it's been 20 years since the legislature passed a bill having uniform regulations around the state, across the entire state. There are many counties, and that probably being talked about, some would rather go county by county than statewide regulations. Where would you stand on statewide regulations versus county by county regulations?
I think it should be left to the counties.
Okay.
The county knows the needs of the county. And it's, who else better, working with the individual farmers, the supervisors working with the farmers, the attorney if needed, and the county seat. Regulations coming out of Des Moines, I can't see how they would see the full picture. I think local control is always best for regulating all that.
Thank you.
So state versus county regulations. So as of right now, the state of Iowa, it's called the Master Matrix, and it is ran by the state of Iowa and the DNR. I believe that the Master Matrix should be left alone and state regulated. And the reasoning why I feel that way is growing up in rural Iowa, my grandma still lives on the family farm, but there's a lot of farms that are, farmers have different fields in different counties. So if we have 99 counties in the state of Iowa, there could be 99 different rules. So what happens if here in Hardin County, the rules are, let's just, whatever the rules are for Hardin County, but then you have a farm in Franklin County, which has different rules than Hardin. So I think in order to keep it uniform across the state, the master matrix should be left to the state.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna move on to some other issues now. Okay, if Roe v. Wade is overturned, what would you advocate for the state of Iowa? For the people who don't understand, if Roe v. Wade is overturned, does not mean that abortion is over. What it does mean is it goes back to the individual states and the state legislature to pass laws dealing with the abortion question instead of a court ruling at the national level. That's what it does. So if Roe v. Wade would be overturned, what would you, gentlemen, where would your position be on working on that issue? I don't know who's going first, I lost track. Okay.
Alright, so if Roe v. Wade is overturned, my position on Roe v. Wade is, I am 100% against abortion. But the state of Iowa, going all the way back to, well, not all the way back to, but back to 2017, passed a bill, the 20-week abortion ban. In 2018, the state of Iowa passed the fetal heartbeat bill. And then in 2020, they passed a withdrawal of life support bill. And they've also made a constitutional amendment on life. So with the help and the support of governor, who believes that that life begins at conception, I feel that Iowa is already a leader in the nation when it comes to anti-abortion laws. And so if and when Roe v. Wade is overturned, Iowa already has measures in place, and we will lead the nation in abortion laws.
Thank you.
I see the world through a Christian lens. Yes, sir? Oh. I see the world through a Christian perspective. The sanctity of life is everything. The other team wants to destroy families. They want to destroy everything that we hold dear, our patriotic values. When it comes to Roe versus Wade, there's only one instance that it should be carried out, and at that point, the child is unviable, and that's a tubal pregnancy. There's another word for it, but that's how I know it. The child never left the fallopian tubes. Other than that, we should have a sanctity of life for the elderly, those that can't speak for themselves, and we must protect the child. The child has rights. It's not about woman's health, and never has been. It was a wrong decision in 1973, and it's wrong today. We have a hurdle here in Iowa in that our own Supreme Court overturned the heartbeat bill that Jim Carlin worked so hard in 2018. So we have to look within our own Supreme Court as well. They must overturn that decision, just like Alito and our bold justices will overturn Roe versus Wade on the national level. We must protect the children.
Thank you. Next question. The Department of Human Services is a large percentage of the Iowa budget and has a wide range of services. What would you do to improve their management at the Iowa State Training School for Boys in Eldora to make it a safer environment for the staff? And also any improvements you might be working on or be interested in working on child abuse, child support. So that's kind of a broader question. So go ahead.
Yeah, I was talking to some folks in Eldora the other day, and they were employees of that state training school, and they do speak of abuse. It's not just one-sided, the kids going ape on the staff. It's abuse from the staff to the folks there. We have to investigate that wholeheartedly. That training school, I lived in this area for a long time, and I know a few folks that worked there for a very long time, but we have to help. We have to help re-educate some of them kids and get them back to being functional in society. It's tough when you grow up. I was born in the Bronx. My cousin was stabbed in the neck by another minor. He died right in the stairways to the projects. And I know we have violent offenders, and we really have to assess whether we're gonna keep that as a training school or make it one step greater and make it a detention center with, just like the one across the street or up the street in Eldora. But a lot of it is mental health, and we don't have enough mental health professionals here in central Iowa. So we need to bring professionals in. My wife and I have gone to counseling. We have to go all the way to Ames to see a psychiatrist or a therapist. And you know, being on a ship is not easy. So sometimes, you know, things got hard, and so we sought counseling, which is good. Counseling will just make you better. And we have to work with these juveniles at that school.
All right, thank you. Maggie, you know, is there any changes you might see at Eldora, and also you talk about child abuse and child support? Those are kind of the three areas that.
So, I reached out to the training school in Eldora, repeated phone calls, was not able to get anybody to talk to me. But, so, being a state employee, the Iowa State Patrol requires annual trainings every year. We have to take ethics trainings, defensive tactics, use of force. Coming from a law enforcement background, when it comes to looking at improvements for the Eldora Training School, without knowing what their training requirement is, so I would have to have meetings with the administration and see what trainings that the staff currently has or upcoming trainings, and if those are areas that are lacking, then we should obviously get them trained so that these abuses do not continue. And again, with a career in law enforcement, my wife working in the jail in Blackhawk County, she tells me stories almost on a daily basis where an inmate acts up or acts out, and so when there's an inmate that doesn't want to conform to the rules, and there's a lot of paperwork that has to be done as a result of that. So, but anyway, where I'm getting at is, as a state representative, I would have to do my research into the training school and move forward from there.
Thank you. Next question. Medicaid is a large funded item and is mandated. Now, for many people, Medicaid is a program for poor people. Medicare is for us old folks. And I know a lot of people get them confused. So that's a big difference. The federal government sends money to the states, and the states determine how it will be spent. What things would you add or remove from the list of things covered for our needy Iowans, or would you keep it the same? Or in all fairness, you know, if you don't know enough about this subject, you can say that too. Because quite frankly, some of these questions are a little more technical than, you know, not bad for somebody who's been in the business for a while, but you know, for you it's a little tougher. So, do you see any changes in Medicaid that you might propose, or yeah, go ahead and answer. I don't know who first, but okay.
All right. So, to answer that question, I don't know a whole lot about Medicaid. So I know. So last year in 21, I took the exams for my life insurance and health insurance exams in order to sell Medicare to retirees in the state of Iowa.
So you're gonna be calling me?
No. Nope, I will not, because I made it 7 months in the industry, And I try to do that as a part-time job in addition to state patrol. And learning all of the rules and regulations, it's too much for a part-time job. So when it comes to Medicaid, state assistance, the little bit that I do know about it, I can't foresee any changes that I would propose, but there again, I don't know all of the nuts and bolts.
That's fair. Go ahead.
Well, I'm in a similar, I won't say boat, I'm in a similar ship. I work on ships. I work on ships and boats.
You might have to explain the difference between a ship and a boat.
Well, my
I
ship,
know it, but most people don't.
my ship was 900 feet long.
There you go.
I do know that the safety net needs to be there to help the underprivileged. Many churches have failed in that respect. That used to be a church function. The churches, with compassion, would look after the widows, the orphans, the poor, and unfortunately, we're not there in society anymore. But that safety net should cover for a wide variety of ailments. The alcohol abuse, the drug abuse, the mental health situations. But our safety net, back to immigration. I'm gonna mention the immigration. We have to control the influx of people that use that safety net. It is not fair to the rest of society that our schools, our doctors, that safety net, food stamps, welfare, that's for American citizens, not for everybody else. And it is, somebody said I couldn't talk about immigration, but why not? Immigration is broken. And every state is a border state. So, to hamper a conversation of that is censoring how we all feel. So, we have to quit the incentives that bring that mob, and there are people just like you and I. If I was born in Nicaragua, would I travel the many miles to get here? Absolutely. You know, thank heavens my parents migrated to New York from Puerto Rico. We are born Americans. But we must stop these incentives that drive those folks over. Title 42 is gonna be dropped here in the next week or so. They're saying 18,000 people a day are gonna cross the border. When are our politicians gonna address that matter? When? That winning team he speaks of? No, they're not. Why? Trifecta of government, and yet we need Republicans that are not willing to step out.
Let me go one step further. What do you recommend that the state legislature at the state level pass on the immigration issue? What would you recommend?
We have to force the issue like Governor Abbott has done. He's shipping them, you know, they're coming here to Iowa. And it's not about not having them, because our agriculture needs migrant workers. I grew up in California. California is a big farm state. You don't think of it that way, but agriculture cannot function without migrant workers. But what's the difference? Legal migration. Legal migration. We're all fed up, and as I go door to door, some of the things that they say is fiscal irresponsibility, both at the state and at the federal level. They speak of immigration, they speak of drugs, they speak of medical freedom, and they speak of government overreach. Why aren't our politicians talking about those items? Why? Ask yourself. Are they compromised by big pharma? Are they compromised by dollars and cents? Corruption is real. The swamp is real. The swamp exists. It exists in Des Moines. And thank you for your service. I know you were with RPI for many years. I always concentrated on national politics, but the swamp is in Des Moines and it must be defeated.
Anything you'd like to add, anything you see in the legislature that you think the legislature should do with immigration? Or what they can do? Go ahead.
Yeah, so, at the state level, I know immigration, you know, there's much, needed work to be done at the federal level, on the issue. I know that, with, illegal immigration, my great-grandpa came to the United States from Germany in 1920. He came through Ellis Island, got to New York. His cousin, who he was supposed to meet up with, ditched him. My great-grandpa got in a little bit of trouble, got arrested, deported back to Germany. A year later, my grandpa came back and made it to Dysart, where we started our family. So when it comes to immigration, I'm not too far from that. So, but there, like Robert said, there's something to be said about coming here honorably, the correct way. And so I think at the state level, in Des Moines, we need to stand firm and not allow those injustices to happen.
I mean, you both agree on illegal immigration is bad. You both agree on that.
What would I have done? I would have passed legislation to help fund the wall.
Okay.
We should have did that.
Wait, just to point out,
Yeah.
the wall was
That was
funded
federal.
at the federal level. President Biden stopped the wall, so the materials were already there. So, I mean, the state level couldn't, in Iowa, we couldn't do anything about that. Okay, next question. Do you support the right to work law in Iowa? And what that means is, you are not forced to join a union.
Alright. Yeah, so, right to work law, I agree with. So as a state trooper, we do have a, Iowa State Patrol Troopers Association, which is union. I am a member, a union member for the Iowa State Patrol, but the way that I look at it is the money that comes out of my paycheck every year to go towards our union, and I've had this discussion with our union stewards many a times, is when you have $700 and some plus a year going to union dues, I think that money could be spent better elsewhere. But when it comes to supporting right to work and with teachers unions, yeah, I believe that you as an employee have the right to choose whether or not you want to be a part of a union. And so, yep, I'll support that.
Okay.
An emphatic yes. Absolutely. I too, as an officer, was part of an officer association. We could not be a union. It was a small in-house association with Atlantic Maritime. And prior to that, when I was a seaman, I was part of its sister organization. But I believe the unions had its place for safety. It is abuse because our monies as union members go to causes that we necessarily don't agree with. And there is that abuse. So emphatically, yes, I am thrilled that Iowa is a right to work state.
Thank you. Jumping gears here on education, what is your opinion of charter schools in the education system, and how do you think they should be funded?
I do agree with Governor Reynolds' stance for education savings accounts. I am for school choice. I made that known with this agenda in Linn-Mar, in Urbandale, and other areas of the state. We as legislators must act in unison to correct these problems. Our schools here are good schools. My kids went to Timothy Christian School. I paid for that. It was a premium. And that was because when I first got here, I knew Iowa had good values, but I wanted a Christian education for my kids. With what's happening now in Linn-Mar, if you guys all follow that, the parental rights part of that is a wash. It's horrible. And they expect the parents to tolerate that? No. I feel that the ESA and the way it's written should be expanded to all communities throughout Iowa, not just those that meet that criteria. So it should be expanded, and yes, public funds should follow. Her plan is for 70% to follow and 30 to stay with, not even with your local school. It stays with, for operational sharing instead of small rural districts. What kind of nonsense is that? It should stay. 70% should follow the kids, and that other 30% should stay at the rural school. Not for operational sharing. We have to protect the kids. That's what it comes down to. It comes down to parental rights. Don't vaccinate against parental rights. Don't teach the kids that America is a racist nation when we know it's not. There is no substance to white privilege. You guys work hard. You have what you have because of hard work. Don't feel. I was walking in Iowa Falls over on the other side of the bridge, and I ran into a good Democrat. He didn't collect his Social Security till he was 70. Why do I say good Democrat? Because we did agree on a lot. But he apologized for his white privilege to me. Why? Because that's the indoctrination, that's the bullshit the mainstream media is feeding him. Excuse me.
Okay. And you did answer to the other part of a question they just gave to me, which you already answered.
70%. Public funds should follow the kids.
Taxpayer money follow the scholarships for private schools, said yes.
Absolutely.
30%, okay.
But that 30% shouldn't go somewhere else. It should go right into the, if I pull my school from Iowa Falls to send them to Timothy Christian, Iowa Falls schools should get that 30%, not destined to somewhere else. So that's the part that I do not agree with in the governor's plan.
Okay, all right, very good. All right. Essentially, it's talking about charter schools. Do you support charter schools? Do you support public money to go to charter schools?
Okay. All right, so, like Robert talked about with school choice, I also agree with school choice. I believe that as a parent myself, I want to know exactly what my daughter is learning in school and what books are being read. When it comes to funding, so under the governor's current legislation, or what she is currently proposing with the school voucher program, I think the school voucher program as it is currently written needs to be improved upon. When I look at the school voucher program, so looking at how it is written out, so 10,000 school vouchers a year at the cost of around $50 million to the taxpayers of Iowa. They have to be 400% below poverty level and in a school that has 7,000 plus students. When you take the total number of school districts in the state of Iowa and divide, which is 357, and you divide it by the number of schools that have 7,000 plus students, which is roughly 12, you get a percentage around 3.3%. So 96% of the school, or 96.7% of the remaining school districts do not qualify. I am the type of person that feels that fair is fair. So I don't believe, or I don't feel that 3% is fair when in fact, so like Hardin County would not qualify, Grundy County would not qualify. So I believe that I'm not 100% door closed, but I think it needs to be rewritten.
Thank you. Another question on finances, taxes, spending, all that stuff. The state of Iowa currently, is proposed lowering the income tax over, a period of time. They have, eliminated income tax on Social Security. They have, right now, it's a $6,000 and $12,000 exemption for retirement income, which they're gonna phase in, not taxing retirement income at all. And then go to a 3.9%, I believe it is, income tax. Is this something that the legislature has already passed this? Is this something you're supporting, or is there something that you say, well, we should probably cut the tax that much, maybe the money should be spent somewhere else? I'll let you expand on it.
Okay. No, the 3.9% flat tax, I'm 100% agreement on. When it comes to paying taxes or having a tax cut, anything that we can do as legislators to keep more money in your pocket, I'm 100% supportive of. And when it comes to tax cuts on retirement income for retirees, again, 100% supportive of that, because you earned your money, you worked hard, you made it to retirement, and you need to be rewarded for that.
Well, I'm retired. I don't have another income except my investments. I worked for a Fortune 500 company. I'm lucky to be retired. I salute Governor Reynolds and the legislature for what they've done. I wish it didn't have to be in 5-year increments, or 4 years down the road, but I understand that. I have been at the top of that tax bracket for too long. And I believe it's 8.53 or something like that. I think it will stimulate the seniors actually to stick around Iowa. It'll be good. Property tax. We have to look at all taxes. Inheritance tax has to be done away with. Property tax has to be lowered. Rein in fiscal responsibility. But the 3.9, yes, I actually looked some years ago. It's like, do we move to South Dakota? I came here from Washington State. They had no sales tax. Prior to that, I lived in Nevada. Excuse me, not sales tax, income tax. Nevada, no income tax. I went down to Florida for training. What did I do down there? I tried to find a tax shelter, but I'm Iowan now. I've been here 28 years. We need to stay put. Can I use the rest of my time to talk about whatever I wish?
In your closing statement, you have time to do that.
Okay. No, Governor Reynolds has done a good job with taxes. I praise her.
The Iowa legislature makes decisions that affect local governments, cities and counties. There are many times the bills cause unfunded mandates and the local governments have to bear the cost. So we wanna know how you stand on that. Also, urban representatives now are outweighing rural representatives, and the districts that you will be running in, Hardin and Grundy counties, definitely rural, and, you know, this question, will you continue to work with local officials, whether it be the local school board, the city council, the supervisors and local groups, you know, to, keep them in tune with what's going on and pick their brain on what they can suggest to you as a group?
I think it's imperative, yes, that we stay in touch with our constituents. I have high regards for what Sweeney and Grassley both did at the Equestrian Center. I went to one of their meetings, and the folks held them accountable. So that's what we should do. As far as the other part of that, I know there's local excise tax. I heard it from Grundy, at the city, at the county level. I went to Conrad, I heard it from them, and I heard it from the city council in Dyke. They get more responsibilities from the state on things they need to get done, and yet there is no funding for it. So, bigger workload. In fact, I heard it from our own county guys, because I started going to supervisor meetings here as well, even before I knew I was gonna run. I wanted to take BJ's spot when he won. They get more duties and less funds, and there's a problem with that. The higher workload has to be followed with compensation. The state should be covering it.
Thank you.
So my answer is yes. So as a state representative, I feel that it is my duty and my due diligence to be held accountable and approachable. And so in order to do that, to be accountable and to be approachable is by attending city council meetings, supervisor meetings, and school boards. And in order to be a good representative, I feel that you have to have a firm grasp on your communities and what is going on, what the real issues are. And so, as a state representative, one of my missions that I've already put in place that I want to do is with my job as a state trooper, I have a fairly nice schedule. We work 5 days on and have 3 days off. So what I would like to do on my 3 days off during when session is not in is go around to all of the different meetings and in Grundy, Hardin, and a little portion of Black Hawk. And ask questions, have questions asked of me, and that way I can take all of that data back with me to the State House and work on what our issues are, and let the State House know what issues Hardin County has, what issues Grundy County has. And in order to do that, you have to be accessible. And the way that I want to not only run my campaign, but also my political career is I want to be out in front of people, and my cell phone, I want to be the representative that if you have an issue, do not hesitate to call me.
Thank you. Since I don't have a clock, how are we doing on time? Do we need to get to closing remarks yet? We got time for more questions?
We will go to 8.
We've had some of your questions down to get it to 7. We allowed 2 instead of 3. You have one last one up.
Yeah, I got one,
Yeah.
about what can be done in the housing market to help low-income people somewhat compete. I don't know who's looking at it.
So, with the low income, I know there are assistance programs out there. When I first bought my house many years ago, we didn't have the 20% put down on it, and so we had to use a FHA loan. And so I know in order to qualify for those, it's there's a lot of paperwork and things that have to be done. So when it comes to low income, anything that we as a legislator can do to help make that home buying process little less complicated, more easier, more accessible, I'm all for it.
Thank you.
Well, I grew up in low income. I come from modest means, both on the island and in LA. My parents divorced when we were young, and it was a battle. It was a young mom with 3 boys, and she felt shame that she needed to get some support. My son also, I mean, he bought his house. He went through, I didn't even know it existed, a USDA loan. He didn't have to have his 3% in there. It's tough for those situations, and I don't know how we can assist. So I'll have to get together with my conservative brothers down there, my peers, and figure it out. I know there isn't enough housing in rural Iowa to accommodate a low-income community, workers. I mean, we need houses to bring the migrant workers in, and in Eldora, Mr. Limas, which was a neighbor of mine in Wellsburg, he got that facility and he's putting 148 beds in there to assist in the migrant workers. God bless them. But I do believe an able-bodied person has to work. Has to work. There's no free handouts. You know, I've been working since I'm 16, I'm 58, I'm retired. In America, we are rewarded by hard work. So at the same time, we help the disadvantaged, and we encourage people that are healthy to go out there and bust your butt off and work. So there shouldn't be this free ride.
Thank you. So we are going to be moving on to closing statements. Now, what I would like you to do is, in your closing statement, would you include what you think is the best thing about your opponent? A little bit tough. And would you pledge your support to whichever of you win the primary? That's another thing. And you support them if they win, and why would you be the better candidate to vote for? So you got a few minutes to have at it.
All right. So what does this flag on my hat signify to you? Defend law enforcement, not defund. You know, there was a time period in my own life. I ran and I tested with the Grundy County Sheriff's Office, the Marshall County Sheriff's Office, the Tama County Sheriff's Office. My son went to Ellsworth to seek a degree in law enforcement. I commend Officer Meggers for being in law enforcement in these troubled times when they're not seen in a good light, and it's absurd. What would society be with law and order? You know, for me, I got into this for one reason. The trend that we're on on this slide to Marxism has to be defeated. The CCP is out there influencing Blackwater, influencing Vanguard. They're buying up farmland. They got the woke businesses on their side. They got the mainstream media on their side. Anybody who denies that and is running for public office should be ashamed, because there is a movement. So I want to fight against that movement. I do see myself as the more conservative of us two. I will not bend, and I will answer only to you. And I make this pledge today that among the conservatives, I'm not going to please everybody, but among the conservatives among us, if I fail you, I will leave. He speaks of a political career. I speak about saving our republic. It is not a career for me. It will never be a career for me. I signed a term pledge already within the first week. I am not going to make a habit of this. We are going to clean up Des Moines. We're going to hold people accountable. We're going to move to lessen junk like this that the Democrats down there are still pushing. And I'm going to read it. An act requiring human growth develop. This is a bill before the House File 2448, proposed by Democrats. And it's in committee still. An act requiring the human growth and development instructions provided by school districts include age-appropriate and research-based instructions inclusive of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender health practices. This is what the left is pushing on us. Why don't we have strong Republicans to dismiss this wholeheartedly? This is not what Iowa standards are. This is junk, and it's from, in my opinion, it's from the pit of hell. We have to save our republic, our state, and go all the way to DC to clean up that swamp too. My president was Donald J. Trump, and he brought this country to greatness, and we have to revive that again. It's time for you, because you disagree with what I'm saying.
No.
No, we're all on time factors. Now, one question that I would like to ask you, however the primary turns out, if you're the winner, or if you would happen to lose.
I will hold him accountable. He has to answer to the people.
Support him.
I will have to support him because I am a Republican, and there's nobody else.
Yeah.
But we have to make sure that his allegiance is to the people and not to Grassley and not to anybody else.
That is fair. Thank you. Okay. Your closing remarks.
All right. That's for last, right? All right, so win or lose, if I am defeated in the primary, yes, I will support Robert Nazario 100%. It's the honorable thing to do, and we're on the same team. We're conservatives and we're Republicans, and yes, when it comes to supporting the other candidate, yes, 100%. So, in my closing, I expanded, or I had said during my opening that I want to be a part of the Iowa Republican winning team. I truly, honestly believe that the Iowa Republican Party is the winning team, and I want to be a part of that winning team because I want to see Iowa succeed. I believe in Iowa, and and like Robert said, there are some issues that need to be addressed. That is true, but there again, I think with some strong policies, those can be taken care of. Again, when it comes to comes to the reasoning why I want to be a part of the Iowa legislature is one of the things that I have seen in the career of law enforcement is every single year the Iowa State Patrol goes to the State House and says, you know, we would like to have this and this and this and this and with a wish list. So, but in order to make that happen, the state of Iowa, they have to pass a budget for the Iowa State Patrol. And so I feel as a state trooper with the experience of seeing 16 different budgets and I feel that with that experience, I could be a voice not only for the Iowa State Patrol, but also for the citizens of Iowa to help promote law enforcement and keep Iowa a safe place to live and raise a family.
Thank you. I think they both deserve a round of applause.